Lauren's fingers moved fluidly over her phone screen, crafting the perfect caption for yet another post. The image showed her and Mark, smiling in the soft glow of sunset, arms wrapped around each other. The comments, as always, came in almost instantly. Couple goals? Your love is so inspiring. How do you two stay so perfect together? Lauren scanned through them, her lips pulling into a practiced smile. Perfection. It's what everyone saw when they looked at her life. A glossy highlight reel of trips, fancy dinners, and intimate moments with Mark, the boyfriend who had become her public counterpart. But even as she tapped her finger to like a few comments, she couldn't shake the small gnawing feeling that had been creeping into her mind lately. She paused, her gaze lingering on the picture a moment longer than usual. In that image, everything looked flawless. But lately, when the cameras weren't on, things felt different. Mark seemed distant, as if the man in the photos wasn't the same person who sat across from her at dinner, lost in his phone or offering vague excuses for his constant absences. Her mind wandered back to a moment from the previous week, when he'd canceled their plans last minute, citing a work emergency. Lauren hadn't questioned it then. Mark had a demanding job after all. But something about his explanation had nagged at her. Now, looking at the perfectly framed shot of them, she couldn't help but wonder if she'd been ignoring the signs. Just as she was about to set the phone down, a new notification caught her eye, a direct message from someone she didn't recognize. Lauren opened it, expecting another fan gushing over her content. Instead, it was a single sentence that sent a cold rush down her spine. Do you really know who Mark is? Her heart skipped a beat as she reread the message, confusion swirling with unease. Who would send something like that? What did they mean? Her instinct was to brush it off. It was probably just a troll looking for attention. But something about the message stuck with her. She put the phone down, but the words echoed in her mind. As she sat there, the perfect life she had built online suddenly felt fragile, like it was balancing on a lie she wasn't yet ready to uncover. And for the first time, the validation from likes and comments didn't quite silence the nagging doubt she had buried for so long. Lauren couldn't stop thinking about the message. It gnawed at her, casting a shadow over everything she did. Each time she looked at Mark's photos or scrolled through their carefully crafted posts, a small voice whispered, "Do you really know who Mark is?" She tried to dismiss it, to tell herself it was just some jealous follower trying to stir up drama. But the doubt had already taken root, and soon she found herself scrutinizing every detail of their relationship. It started with small things. Mark's late replies, his sudden trips for work, the way he avoided specifics when she asked about his day. Each interaction now felt like a puzzle she couldn't quite put together. One evening, after another half-hearted dinner with Mark, where he seemed more interested in his phone than in her, Lauren couldn't take it anymore. She needed answers. With a heavy heart, she sat down on the couch, opened her laptop, and typed his name into the search bar. At first, everything seemed normal. His professional profiles, some old articles mentioning his work. But when she clicked on his social media pages, things began to feel off. Scrolling through his posts, she noticed something strange. There were no personal details. No childhood photos, no family gatherings, no real glimpse into his life beyond the moments they shared publicly. It was as if his life had only started the moment they had met. Lauren's chest tightened as she continued digging. Determined to uncover the truth, she began looking into his tagged posts and followers. Then, buried deep in the comments of an old photo, she found something that made her heart stop. A woman had tagged Mark in a picture, an intimate shot of them together, laughing at a cafe in a distant city. The date was recent, a time when Mark had told her he was traveling for business. Lauren's hands trembled as she clicked on the woman's profile. Photo after photo appeared, showing Mark with her. Not just once, but multiple times. Their relationship looked as close as the one she thought she had with him. Her world cracked open. Mark had another life, another woman. Everything she had believed about him, about them, felt like a lie. Lauren's world had been turned upside down. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything other than the betrayal. The shock of finding out that Mark had another girlfriend, one who seemed to live a parallel life with him, left her reeling. Every glance at his photos, every memory of their time together, now felt tainted, like a cruel joke she hadn't been in on. But it wasn't just her personal life that was at stake. Her entire career was built around the image of her perfect relationship with Mark. Together, they had become a brand, an aspirational couple that fans adored. How could she expose the truth without destroying everything she had worked so hard to build? Sitting at her desk, Lauren stared at her laptop screen. The cursor blinked on an empty post, waiting for her to type the words that would shatter her online persona. She imagined the headlines, the backlash, the storm that would follow if she told the world what Mark had done. The internet was unforgiving and she knew that the fallout would be brutal. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling with indecision. Part of her wanted to scream the truth to the world, to let everyone know that she had been lied to, that the perfect relationship was a facade. But another part of her, a quieter, more fearful part, wondered if she was ready for the chaos that would follow. And then another thought hit her like a sudden chill. Was this the whole truth? Something about the situation still didn't add up. Mark's behavior, his vagueness about his past, the way his other life seemed to run so smoothly alongside hers, could there be more to uncover? Lauren's mind raced. If she was going to expose him, she needed to be sure she had everything. She wouldn't just let him off with a public scandal. No, there had to be more, and she was determined to find it. Determined to get to the bottom of it all, Lauren spent the next few days in a haze of research. Sleep was a distant memory, her mind consumed by one question. Who is Mark really? Her instincts told her that this was bigger than just an affair. If Mark was lying about this, what else was he hiding? She needed to know. Lauren began combing through every piece of information she could find about him. She revisited their old messages, scanned through his social media posts, and even dug into the accounts of people who seemed connected to him. The more she searched, the more inconsistencies she uncovered. Mark's digital footprint was suspiciously thin. There were no tagged photos of him with friends or family outside their relationship. No posts from years ago that would trace back to his past. His history seemed carefully curated, almost too perfect. Then she stumbled upon something that sent a chill down her spine. In a moment of desperation, she decided to run a reverse image search on some of Mark's photos, the ones she had posted of him on her own account. What came back made her blood run cold. The photos appeared on several obscure websites, including stock photo galleries. Some were watermarked. These weren't photos of a real person. They were professional images, part of a collection of carefully edited shots. Lauren's hands began to shake as the realization dawned on her. Mark wasn't real. She quickly pulled up more photos, running the same search, and the result was the same every time. Mark, her Mark, the man she had spent years with, was nothing more than a digital fabrication. His entire presence was built from stock images, manipulated into the life she thought she was sharing with him. Heart pounding, Lauren sat back, staring blankly at her screen. It was impossible, and yet there it was. The man she thought she loved never existed. But how? Who could have orchestrated something so elaborate, so intricate, without her ever noticing? Lauren's thoughts spiraled as she considered the horrifying truth. Someone close to her must have created this digital fantasy. Someone had manipulated her deepest emotions, her trust, and her career for their own gain. Her mind raced back to her closest circle. Her friends, her manager, the people she confided in daily. One name stood out, Kate. Her manager, her confidant, the person who had been with her every step of the way. Could Kate really have done this? Lauren's heart raced as she thought of Kate. Her manager had been by her side from the very beginning, shaping every detail of her online image, every campaign, every post. Kate had always seemed so invested in her success, pushing her to grow her following and cultivate her brand. But now, with the horrifying truth of Mark's non-existence looming over her, everything about their relationship felt suspect. Could Kate have been behind all of this? It seemed impossible, but the more Lauren thought about it, the more it made sense. Kate had access to everything: her accounts, her calendar, her personal information. She had orchestrated entire campaigns around Lauren and Mark's relationship, encouraging them to share intimate moments with their followers. And who else would benefit from controlling every aspect of Lauren's personal and professional life? Still, Lauren couldn't bring herself to accuse Kate without proof. She needed to be sure. Determined, she started digging into their correspondence, looking for clues. There were years of emails, messages, and shared files to comb through, and at first nothing stood out. But as she scanned through old contracts and agreements, she found something that made her stomach drop. There, buried in the fine print of her latest partnership deal, was a clause about creative control that she had never noticed before. It gave Kate unprecedented power over Lauren's brand and image, right down to her personal relationships. And worse, it connected Kate to the digital accounts linked to Mark. Subtle, hidden details that Lauren would have missed if she hadn't been looking closely. Lauren's mind raced as the pieces came together. Kate had created Mark, built him out of stock images and digital lies, and used him to manipulate Lauren's career. The betrayal was staggering. How could someone she trusted so deeply betray her like this? Anger surged within her, but beneath it was a profound sense of loss. She hadn't just lost Mark, she had lost the illusion of trust in the person closest to her. Now, Lauren had to decide how to confront Kate, knowing that everything she thought was real had been a calculated lie. Lauren sat at her desk, staring at the undeniable proof of Kate's betrayal. It wasn't just the shock of the deception that rattled her, it was how deep it ran. For years, she had believed that her relationship with Mark was the heart of her online persona, the one thing that made her feel grounded in the chaotic world of social media. Now she realized it had all been part of a plan, not just to control her image but to control her. The betrayal cut deep, but Lauren's hurt quickly turned into anger. She had spent years letting someone else dictate her life, but not anymore. If Kate thought she could keep controlling her, she was dead wrong. Lauren had no intention of letting the lie continue. For a moment, Lauren considered confronting Kate directly. But what good would that do? Kate would lie, twist the situation, maybe even try to gaslight her into believing it wasn't as bad as it seemed. No, Lauren needed to expose this on her own terms. She opened her laptop, her fingers moving over the keyboard with a newfound clarity. She began drafting a post, but this one was different from all the others she had ever written. There were no carefully chosen filters, no perfected captions to match her brand's aesthetic. This was raw, real, and unfiltered. In the post, Lauren laid everything bare. She revealed the truth about Mark's non-existence, how she had been manipulated by someone she trusted, and how that deception had affected both her career and personal life. But rather than painting herself as a victim, she wrote with strength, reclaiming her narrative. This wasn't about exposure for the sake of drama, it was about taking back control of her life. As she read over the post, Lauren felt a sense of relief wash over her. The weight of pretending, of performing for the world began to lift. This was her truth and she wasn't afraid anymore. Her hand trembled slightly as she clicked publish, but her resolve was firm. This was her moment to rewrite the narrative, to reclaim her power. What did you think of the story? If you have any comments, suggestions, or ideas for new stories, feel free to share them below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to follow the channel and turn on notifications to stay updated with our latest stories. There's plenty more coming your way.